Hello everyone, this is an introduction to Campervan electrical system. In these upcoming videos, we're going to break it all down into really simple steps. So hopefully you'll be able to design a system perfect for your needs without too many headaches. In today's video, we're going to be going through some very basic electrical principles and discuss how an electrical system works.
The next couple of videos are going to form part of our bigger Van Conversion 101 series where we show you how to convert a van from start to finish. In our last video, we were taking a look at the Ford Transit's massive indents and how we could use the space in the best way possible. And my favorite part of that was definitely this secret cabinet that we built behind our mirror. So if you're interested in checking out that video, then I will leave a link on the screen now. As always, we're doing this van conversion over on TikTok and Instagram. So if you prefer short form videos or you just want to see more of the behind the scenes stuff, then I will also leave a link to that on the screen now. We have a van cat called Lola. She's pretty great and she features more on those channels. So
she's home based at the moment, so you haven't been seeing that much of her, but
yeah,
hopefully soon we'll get her back in. If you like these videos or find them useful, please do like, comment and subscribe, and it really helps us continue to make videos like this.
Designing and installing an electrical system is usually the most daunting and overwhelming part of your van build. So why would you trust us to help you through it?
Well, for the past few years, basically ever since we finished our first van conversion,
which we actually did a full van tour of, so if you want to check that out, then I'll leave another link on the screen.
I've been working as an electrical engineer for a company called Nohma. If you haven't heard of us, we are essentially an off-grid electrical system design service founded by Charlie and Dale, the authors of the best-selling Van Conversion Bible. We put together bespoke systems based on your specific requirements. We also provide full wiring guides and tons of engineer support throughout, so hopefully we can make the process as straightforward as possible. The aim of these videos is to go through all the information that you might need to put together a system on your own. But if it's all feeling a little bit overwhelming and you'd like some help, then please do go check out Nohma. You can have a chat with myself or one of the other engineers and we can get a kit assembled for you in no time. If you are interested in speaking with me specifically, for whatever reason, there's a link in the description below that will make sure that I get assigned to your inquiry.
And in terms of my qualification, that'll be GCSE physics. So you probably don't want to hear from me, which is why I am going to leave you with Will for the rest of the video. But I am in all of our other videos in the series, so if you are interested,
if you're just here for the pretty girls,
then you can go check those out. But yeah, I am going to leave you with Will now. This video is sponsored by Sterling Insurance.
It's also worth noting just before we get started that Mira and I are from the UK, so there are parts of this that won't necessarily apply if you live in mainland Europe or elsewhere in the world. But hopefully most of the principles will still be the same, so you can still take something from it regardless of where you're based. Now, we're not going to make this a physics lesson. We're just going to try and stick to the information that we think you'll find useful and relevant to a campervan system. The terms that you're probably going to hear most frequently are voltage, measured in volts, current, measured in amps, and power, measured in watts. If you've been looking up similar videos to this, then you've probably heard this analogy before. But you can think of electricity as water flowing down a pipe. In this case, voltage would be the water pressure, or the force pushing the water down the pipe. Current, on the other hand, is the flow rate in the pipe, how fast the water is flowing. Multiply these two together and you get power. Power tells you how much work your electricity, or water in this case, is actually doing. And it relies on both the water pressure, voltage, and the flow rate, current. So high pressure with a low flow rate can be the same as low pressure with a high flow rate. Let's look at a quick campervan example. In our last van, we had these LED spotlights in the roof. They ran on 12 volt and each one used a current of around 0.2 amps. Multiplying those two things together, we can say that each light used 2.4 watts of power. We'll be talking about these three units quite a lot as we go through the main parts of the electrical system. In general, voltage will be a fixed number, usually 12 or 230. Power will usually be related to your appliances. So for instance, you might want to run a hairdryer, which has a power of 1500 watts. And current will most often be used to determine the size of cables, fuses, and other components around the system. Now, there's also a lot more that you can learn about this particular relationship and a little bit more complexity to it as well. But for now, this is all you need to know. Another important thing to know is the difference between DC, direct current, and AC, alternating current. With DC electricity, the current flows in one direction. We can imagine our water pipe with water flowing from one end to another. If we put a water wheel in that pipe, it will turn. That's how the power gets delivered. With alternating current, the direction of the current, or the water in this case, is constantly changing back and forth. The water wheel still moves, i.e. power is still delivered, but the water itself doesn't actually go anywhere. We use AC, alternating current, in our houses and in domestic settings. The reason for this is that we get our electricity from the grid. which means it has to travel long distances in order to get to our houses. It's much more efficient for us to transport power at a high voltage. High voltage means low current. Low current means less energy is wasted as heat in the cables. Electricity is transported via pylons or through underground cables at hundreds of thousands of volts, normally 275 to 400,000 volts. This is very efficient, but it's also very dangerous. So we need to step that voltage down to a more manageable 230 volts for use around the home. This is where the alternating current comes into it. It is much easier to change the voltage of an AC supply using something called a transformer than it is with DC. The result of this is that many of our common household appliances, the type of things that you might want to use in a campervan, like a hairdryer, blender, toaster, even your laptop chargers, will be designed to work on 230 volt AC electricity. The problem with a campervan is that you can't always be plugged into the grid. There will be times when you want to be off grid. And for that you need a way to store energy, and that's where batteries come into it. This is a battery. Without going into too much detail, a battery works by storing chemical potential energy. Electrons are allowed to move between a positive and a negative terminal, moving one way when you charge the battery and the other way when you discharge it. When you plug an appliance into a battery, electrons move from the positive terminal through the circuit that you've created to the negative terminal, powering your appliance in the process. This fixed direction, one way or another, naturally creates direct current, DC electricity. Creating AC requires electronics which will continuously switch the direction of the output. That's essentially what an inverter does, which is this unit here. And it's something that we're going to touch on a little bit later. As well as being DC, batteries are also typically a much lower voltage, usually 12, 24 or 48 volts. Partly this is due to safety. It's much safer to touch the terminals of a 12 volt battery than it would be to touch the terminals of a 230 volt battery, which could be fatal. The other reason is that the individual cells that make up a battery usually only generate a few volts each. It doesn't take too many of these cells to make up a 12, 24 volt battery, for instance, but it would take loads of them to create a 230 volt battery.
So we just wanted to take a quick minute to say a huge thank you to the sponsors of this video and actually the entire series itself, Sterling Insurance.
Sterling offer campervan insurance for all sorts of weird and wonderful conversions, whether it's something pre-built or you've done it yourself. We've been with Sterling for a couple of years now and we've been so impressed with the cover they offer, and their customer service has been impeccable from start to finish.
So some of the things that they offer are personal possessions cover for up to £12,000 and European cover for 90 days or even longer, which was amazing in our case when we wanted to travel basically for the whole year in Europe. One of the things that we also love is that they offer optional extras, one of them being protection for your camping gear, which if you're in a camper van or you're living that off-grid lifestyle, that's something that is quite important.
Unlike a lot of other insurance companies who offer more generic policies, Sterling offer real van life insurance. Give them a call and you can make sure that the policy you choose is tailored to your needs and your van specifically.
So if you're doing a van conversion or are ready to set off on your adventures, then definitely check out Sterling Insurance. It's super easy to get a quote and there's a link in the description down below.
So you've got a DC battery ready to supply power to your appliances. A lot of the appliances that you're going to be using around your van won't use a lot of power. Things like your LED lights, your fans, your water pump, your fridge. So it's typically a good idea to find versions of these appliances which will run on the same voltage as your battery, in this case 12 volt. This is really common for vans and camper vans, so it should be really easy for you to find these kind of appliances. Having 12 volt appliances means that the power is coming directly from your battery, so it minimizes any power loss. The only other component that you'll usually need is a fuse board, which allows you to connect multiple circuits up that can be powered by the battery and protect each one with its own fuse. When you run these appliances, you're using power from the battery, so it will start to drain. So how do you charge it back up again? Well, in a camper van, there are three main ways. Which of these you decide to include in your van will depend completely on how you want to use it, which we're going to get into in more detail when we go through actually designing your system in a later video. The first of these recharging methods is solar power. So solar panels, usually mounted on the roof of your van, but you can also get portable ones as well, generate electricity to charge the batteries up. We actually do have a video where we have mounted our solar panels. That's something that we've done already. And we decided to set them up so that we can tilt them up and down to increase the amount of power that we're able to generate. So if you want to go check that video out, there'll be a link somewhere on the screen. The power that solar panels generate is typically of a completely different voltage to that of your battery bank. So you will also need a solar charge controller to modify the voltage and the current and provide a stable output to charge your battery. The second method is battery-to-battery charging, also known as DC to DC or split charging. This uses power generated by your vehicle's alternator to charge the leisure battery in the back anytime that you're driving. It's called battery-to-battery charging because it requires you to connect a little unit like this to your van's starter battery up in the front of the van, so typically some quite long cables involved with that one. And finally, there is shore or mains power charging. This involves using a battery charger to convert mains or AC power into a DC charging current to charge the battery. This is largely doing the same job as an inverter, but in reverse. On that note, you might want to use some of the standard household appliances that we've mentioned, laptop chargers, hairdryer, blender, that kind of thing, when you're in the van. So you need a way to convert your DC battery power into 230 volt AC. This is done using an inverter, which not only steps up the voltage, but also rapidly switches the current back and forth, creating a near perfect AC sine wave. Because the inverter and battery charger are so closely linked, it often makes sense to combine them into one big, heavy component. In the case of the Victron systems that we design over at Nohma, it's this big unit here called the Victron Multiplus. When you are off-grid, this will function as an inverter, converting your battery supply into 230 volts so you can use your various appliances around the van. When you do then have a chance to plug in at a campsite or via the mains, the power source will switch over automatically, so you can run all of your appliances using the campsite supply from the same sockets inside the van, and you can charge your battery up at the same time using the built-in battery charger. Now you have a way to run 12 volt appliances, a way to run 230 volt appliances, and recharging methods to get power back into the system. That is the basis of a campervan electrical system. There are, of course, more things that you'll need, like correctly sized cabling, AC consumer unit, power distribution components, isolator switches, and system monitoring components. We'll discuss how to pick and size these components correctly in a later video. Many of these parts, including the cabling, are sized based on the current that they need to carry. Let's go back to the inverter for a second and look at one more quick example. The inverter that you pick for your system will depend on the power required by the appliances that you're trying to run. In our last van, Mira wanted to use her hairdryer, which has a power of around 1500 watts. So we chose an inverter which could reliably and continuously output 1500 watts worth of power. The hairdryer would run on 230 volt. So the current going through the AC cabling on the output side of the inverter would be just 6.5 amps. On the input side, the battery still needs to provide that 1500 watts of power, but it's doing so with a 12 volt supply. This means the current going through the battery will be more like 125 amps. Because the current on the DC side of the system can get so high, you generally need quite chunky or high gauge cables. Your battery cables, which need to carry the maximum current of the system, will generally be the thickest and heaviest. Other components like bus bars and isolator switches are also sized primarily based on the current that they need to carry. This is why, for systems with even more powerful inverters, it becomes more sensible and more cost effective to run the DC part of the system on 24 or even 48 volts. The higher voltage means less current going through all these major parts of the system. That means smaller and cheaper components. The main difference with these systems is that you will normally need to convert the voltage at other points in the system too. It's much easier to find 12 volt appliances to go around the van, but if you wanted to run them on a 24 volt system, you would need a small DC-DC converter in order to run them as you normally would. We'll go through higher voltage systems in more detail in another video, but if you wanted to make a head start on that, there is a really good article by Nohma's R&D engineer Harry, which I will link in the description below. This will basically help you make the decision on what kind of voltage is best for your system and your needs. For the majority of people, unless you are looking to run high wattage appliances like air fryers, induction hobs, that kind of thing, a 12 volt system is usually simplest and most cost effective. Another thing to think about if you are looking for a super simple system, a power bank can actually combine all of these important functions into one convenient unit. It might be the case for very small setups or maybe even micro campers that a power bank just makes the most sense. We'll be going through this in a later video as well. This is one that we had in our last van. We had a main system as well, but they are still really useful for charging the occasional appliance, providing portable power if you want to go to the beach, that kind of thing. A few important questions that you might want to start asking yourself. What are your travel plans going to look like? Whereabouts would you like to go? How much driving do you think you'll be doing? How much time would you like to spend off-grid as opposed to on a campsite? These are all things which will help inform what your system will look like in terms of battery storage, solar wattage, DC-DC charging, everything. Another question is, What appliances would you like to use? How essential are they that you're able to use them off-grid? I'm looking at you with the hairdryer. You don't have to worry too much about this right now. We are going to go into more depth on these different appliances and how they would impact the system in a later video. But it's good to start thinking about. Just having a list of things that you can't live without would be quite useful. The different 230 volt or household appliances that you want to use will affect the inverter that's required in the system, but also the more appliances, and in particular the more powerful appliances you want to use, they'll affect other parts of the system, like how much battery storage. The last question is, and this is an important one, do you want to do this? We've tried to cover the essentials in this video. There is more to it, but if you kept up with everything that we've talked about, I would feel fairly confident in saying you're ready to take the next steps and start designing your system, which is what we're going to be going through in subsequent videos. However, if it is all seeming like a bit too much and you're not feeling confident at this point, please do go check out Nohma. You can speak to myself or one of our other engineers and we can start to put a system together for you in no time at all. We don't actually charge anything for that service, so it shouldn't cost you any more than piecing the system together yourself anyway. Mira doesn't like my hat.
It's just like, it makes you look like such a bitch on fanboy. We hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully it answered some of your questions. Going forward with the next couple of videos, we kind of hope that we'll answer a lot more of your questions as well.
I appreciate there's probably not a lot of, practical advice and information in this one, but hopefully it's given you a little bit of a basis about Campervan electrical systems, and we can start to develop that in the next few videos to the point where you're able to actually put a system together for yourself.
So if you are interested in sort of following along just for the electrics or for the bigger build, then definitely hit that subscribe button. And kind of going along with that, if you do have any questions at all, then just leave them down below. Also, a like helps us out as well. So if you did like it, then maybe hit that like button. I don't know. As we kind of mentioned at the beginning, we're also doing this whole van conversion over on TikTok and Instagram. So if you prefer short form videos, or if you just, again, want to see our van cat behind the scenes, then definitely go check those out as well.
In the next video, we're going to be taking a more detailed look at all the components which make up the electrical system and how you can start choosing them. The rest will be out in the coming weeks, and you can also check out our other videos as we very slowly move our way through this van conversion.
We're aware it's taken a long time.
Yeah.
We're very aware. But we are really excited about finishing it. We're really
I'm excited to get this system in.
Yeah, Will actually has been talking about this electrical system for a really long time, and there's lots of cool features that we have that we didn't have in our previous van. So I think it is going to be really exciting. So you wanna follow along with us.
Or not.
Thank you for watching. Bye.